Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Savage Goose Show. I'm Goose, and as always, we're going to talk about all things Savage Worlds from the past week. And today, I have a special guest. For today's interview, we're going to talk with JM DeFoggi of Savage Universe fame about Doomguard. Say hey, JM.
Hello. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So we are, like I said, we're going to be talking about the Doomguard RPG specifically. If you have any questions about the Doomguard board game, you can still feel free to ask them. But at least for my interview purposes, I'm going to be focusing on the Doomguard RPG and just talking about that and seeing what is being added for the world of Savage Worlds and Necessary Evil in this new booklet. So I'm excited. But first, as always, we are going to start with the newsletter. I will say the newsletter has been quite short recently, which is fine. Let's go ahead and share this tab. This is the final full week for Doomguard, so it'll end later. We'll talk about that in a bit, but this is the last full week. If you have not backed Doomguard, either the RPG or the board game, or why not both, you can go ahead and check out the link down below to go over to the Kickstarter and check out the full board game and everything that you could imagine with this. The fun thing that's happening right now that I'm excited about is that the Doomguard they're adding more STLs. And as someone who does some 3D printing, it means I can print some nice miniatures for the board game, or for your home games of Savage Universe, Doomguard, whatever. So getting the minions actually is a pretty big, nice STL add-on for anyone who has got a 3D printer who wants to print out some minis for their games. So take a look at that. Let me check. Do one thing real quick. Yeah. Moving also mentioning, we'll also mention this. If you are interested in learning more about the board game and know how the game plays, the Rulebook is available to download at DriveThruRPG. You can take a look at that down below. And also, there is a preview for the Doomguard RPG book down below as well. So preview for the RPG book and the core rules for the Doomguard board game. I think I might have misspoke a little bit earlier, but you get it. There's previews. So take a look at those both down below to get an idea of what the game and the RPG is going to be about. Deadlands Classic reprint and audiobook on BackerKit starting next week. So I did not put this in my Kickstarter section, but this is something to know about. If you didn't know, Savage Worlds and Deadlands were not always paired together. Deadlands actually predates Savage Worlds and used a different system for resolving actions and everything. Jim, you probably know more about the system than I do, actually, what Classic is like, because I actually don't know almost anything about Classic.
So I'll be honest, I bounced off of Classic. I loved the setting. It has, So actually there's a lot of DNA that Clint and Shane pulled out into Savage Worlds. I think the biggest difference, as I remember reading through Classic, was that hucksters always had to make a hand of cards in order to cast a spell. So every time they cast a spell, they had to create a hand of cards. And there were different types of bennies, and they did slightly different things. So when you got a benny, you would reach into a bag that had so many, red bennies, so many blue bennies, so many green bennies, and I think like one black benny. And that, you would take from your poker set.
Yeah.
And they each sort of did something different.
Okay, I always thought that was like the original Deadlands for Savage Worlds was that, and I thought that the Classic was like, I don't know. Part of me always thought the Classic was like must be like a D20 system or something, but I don't know.
No,
there was getting my information.
There was a D20 version of Deadlands, but
okay. So maybe that's where I'm thinking as well. Yeah, because every time I hear about this is why I need to have Shane on at some point to just talk about the history of Savage Worlds. So like, okay, how did Deadlands, how Savage Worlds come to be and all that? So I also know like the Great Rail Wars was a great inspiration for Savage Worlds as well. So
yeah, and like
point being though,
yeah, Shane and was it Matt Forbeck worked on that? And yeah.
So yeah. Anyways, if you are interested in the Deadlands Classic 20th Anniversary Edition, sorry, this is not the 20th Anniversary Edition. This is is it a reprint for it? Yeah, reprint of the 20th Anniversary Edition of Deadlands Classic, as well as an audiobook version. You can take a look at these links here. I'll try to put a link for this later. I didn't put any links for this in the description, but you can take a look at that. It's going to be over on BackerKit starting on next Thursday, August 21st. Yeah. I like that I'm doing all these audiobooks. That's been fun.
Yeah.
And I haven't gotten around to getting any of them yet, but I like the idea. And usually they are really good deals. Like every time a Pinnacle product has been in an audiobook, there's usually been a really good deal to get like the physical book and the audiobook. So highly suggest.
Our partners over at Audio RPG are doing a really great job.
Yeah. So take a look at that. Hey, look, the Savage Universe with James DeFoggi.
Hey, this guy.
Yeah, that guy right there. He is interviewing Jacob. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name. You can if you want.
Nope. I always refer to him as Jacob.
Yep, for that reason. Jacob is a really cool guy who has created some really cool products under the Swag license, including Sleuth Squad and Rebels of Havenwood and Secondhand Spellbook. I don't know that one personally. I know the other two. That's why I mentioned those two first. I have print copies of Sleuth Squad on my desk at home. And awesome. I have Rebels of Havenwood. I don't know if I don't have a. Yeah, I have Rebels of Havenwood. I'll say that. But you guys are going to be talking about the upcoming, you're going to talk about Swag.
Mm-hmm.
And I assume you're going to be talking about Swagtember as well.
We're not with Jacob. Swagtember is coming up, and I do want to we're going to have another big push for Swagtember here at the end of the month.
Absolutely.
But he's got the unofficial steampunk handbook that he's been putting together, and he sent me some sample layout pages that look fantastic.
So is it like a steampunk companion, if you will?
Yeah, if you will, an unofficial steampunk companion.
Yeah, I have noticed that a lot of creators lately have been trying to create their own essentially companion books for certain genres. Like there's one that came out recently for the investigation handbook. Essentially, it's like a very, very small little document, not very big, but it's a little unofficial companions that are coming out. Now that all the big 4 companions are done, well, we got a supplement in there for you guys. I have heard rumors of a martial arts companion, but I don't know.
Like the martial arts companion and DM James over at Knights of the Smith Dinner Table keeps pushing for a romance companion.
Interesting.
I get paid $20 from him every time I bring it up until Jody finally writes it, I think is the plan. So,
okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, either way, so look out for that interview with Jacob. Again, really cool guy who's got some really cool products. Some of the best products you can see out in Swagger from him. Again, like Sleuth Squad, really good product. Rebels of Havenwood, really well done. Take a look at that for sure.
Yeah.
And go watch JM and him talk. It's pretty cool. And then here we go. We have our current Kickstarters and crowdfunding statuses, I guess. APG stuff mostly completed. Looks like New Zealand and Australia are currently processing. So look at all that stuff. Rifts, Savage Worlds reprints is preparing to ship. Rifts Europa. Stuff I more care about right now: Deadlands, The Abominable Northwest, and Deadlands, Lost Colony. I'm back to those ones, so I'm really looking forward to those ones personally. And that's it. That's the whole entire newsletter. Let's go ahead and move on. We'll head back to our.
Someone who I can only assume is John Doom in the chat says unsubstantiated rumor is that Daryl is writing a romance companion, and I'm more than willing to unsubstantiate an unsubstantiated rumor.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Sure.
Yeah.
Yes. That's John. That's John Doom. Good old hamster Doom, who is always here. Thanks for joining us today. Ted says, I love the Pinnacles, including Sway Book and Superpowers Companion PDFs with the purchase of the Doomguard RPG. Yep. No, that's really good. Not only that, but also we'll get more into this a little bit later, but also Necessary Evil PDFs as well, right?
Yeah.
The one.
Yeah, I think so. It could be wrong.
I'm pretty sure that's right. I'll double check. Anyways, so we'll talk about the other Kickstarters going on or coming up. So again, Doomguard is going till Friday, August 22nd. So this is the last full week, and then you'll have next week until Friday 22nd to finish that. Go check it out. Don't waste your time, or you'll forget. Launching in September is Phase World, which is a Rifts Dimension Savage setting. So this is not in the immediate Rifts world that Pinnacle is producing, but Star Anvil Studios is producing Phase World, which is part of like the larger, I'm going to call it multiverse because I don't really know enough to say exactly what it is.
The megaverse is how Kevin refers to it. Yeah.
There you go. So the megaverse of Rifts, which is there's a lot going on in Rifts. And what Pinnacle's doing is just like one particular section of it that's happening on Earth, and then with this one we're expanding into all different areas. So look forward to this. This is launching in September from Star Anvil Studios, and we'll be interviewing Brandon from Star Anvil Studios to talk about this project and what's all happening. So look forward to that. That is in 2 weeks from now. We'll be talking about that.
Awesome.
Also launching in September. Again, I don't have a good graphic for this yet, but according to Shane comments on Facebook, we should be seeing Deadlands Dark Ages in September. Fingers crossed. You probably can't confirm nor deny.
All I can say is I am super excited about the Deadlands Dark Ages project. I have been privy to seeing some of the games run at Gen Con and talking with a couple of people, and there are some really, really exciting things for Deadlands fans, both old and new, especially in the lore tidbits. There have been some really interesting things they've been developing there. But yeah, I can't really, unlike Landauer, I'm not allowed to make spoilers.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we've been waiting for this. I mean, the Sins of Our Fathers, I believe, came out like with the Suede Kickstarter, right?
I think so.
I'm pretty sure that's how I got this adventure. Was it came with like what some of the the many things that you got with the Suede Kickstarter backing back in 2018, 2017, and so we've been waiting for a while for this, and I think we're all very excited for that. Ted did confirm that, Invasion, Necessary Evil Invasion does come with, if you back the RPG book, you do get that book as well. So looking up next, this is not a Kickstarter, but this is something that needs funded. This is Hellbent, which is a actual play being put on by the Saving Throw show. This is Dom Zook and his team that he's working with, working on doing a new actual play. So be pretty well edited and such. But they need, in order to like really continue forward with production, they need to be funded by August 15th. That's in 3 days from now. They're currently at 64%. I personally kind of doubt they're going to be able to get there by August 15th, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to do it. It just means that they're going to push off production until a later date. So if you do want to support that work and help get a actual play for not Deadlands, it's going to be a different Wild West type thing going on. Go ahead and take a look at the Hellbent tabletop gaming show over at the Saving Throw show website. You can become part of their fourth wall, which is like a Patreon, but a little bit different. And you can go ahead and just interact there and back and like get access to the Discords for that. So take a look at that. I'm super excited. I love what Dom's done in the past with ETU and with the other Deadlands show that did before. I think this would be, knowing him, this will be really, really good. So hopefully this can happen in the future. All right. So before we get into what's new with Doomguard, I meant to add a new slide here. We're going to talk about a few new products. Yeah. We'll talk about Doomguard in a second. But I want to talk about some new products real quick that came across my emails that I think look really cool and I want to talk about everybody. So the first one is this that came across. It's called Amethyst Revelation. Amethyst Revelations. This seems like it's a very sci-fi looking game, but it also has mechs. But you can also have axe with lasers and riding land dolphins. I'm going to call that. Again, mechs, scary mechs, pretty normal looking mechs. And yeah, just looks really fun, looks really interesting. It's a big book of 339 pages. They have confirmed that they will be doing a print on demand option once they, probably have to go through all like the processes and make sure that's going to look good and make sure that everything just kind of looks nice and everything. But I think it's a big book and it looks super interesting to me. Jam, you said that you know a little bit about this setting because there's also a version of it for
So that's the weird thing when you're like, hey, we're going to talk about Amethyst. So Iconic got started as the Iconic podcast for 13th Age many, many years ago, more years ago than I care, like before my master's many years ago.
Okay.
And one of the first reviews we did in season 1 was of Amethyst Apotheosis, which was, they've done one for 4th edition, 13th Age, 5th edition, Fate, and now Savage Worlds. So if you like this setting, and as I remembered, I don't know if they've updated the lore, but I went back and looked at our show notes from many, many moons ago. And yeah, so it's basically this idea that you're on Earth and magic comes back.
Right.
And technology doesn't work real well in the magic zones, and magic doesn't work real well in the technology zones. So basically the idea is like you're sort of colonizing in a way. Like if you're from the tech tribes, you want to like establish more technology in an area because it basically kills magic off and pushes it back. But there was so much devastation that magic kind of flooded in. I remember thinking that at least for 13th Age, the tech classes were really well done. But I come from a Rifts background, so I don't want like peanut butter on one side and jelly on the other. I want it kind of swirled together in a party.
All mixed together.
Yeah, and it at least at that time, again, I don't know if they've made any updates in the last 10 years. Yeah. There was a major divide, and it felt like if you had a mixed party, that one side or the other was going to be hampered no matter what, just by the presence of both being in the party. They may have changed that. They may say, no, that's not a bug, that's a feature, JM. And so, yeah, but it was cool to see that they're still out there. And I think DEM is Deus Ex Machina Games, which is the guys who did the original one. And so it's cool to see that they're still in production.
Yeah, and I think this is just, like I said, it's a big book, at 339 pages. I have not purchased yet. I did add it to my wish list for getting a print-on-demand version at some point. But it, looks cool. Definitely interested. And it's always cool to see something like this added to the Savage Worlds like possibilities. So take a look at that. Check that out. There's a link down below if you're interested. The next one, this was originally, I know, Kickstarter. I want to say like last year, but it's now out for PDF and softcover print options. And that's Beneath the Pyramid Shadow, which is a cosmic horror apocalypse. So it's it's an adventure, but it's also got some it's a micro setting. It's got some new edges, new hindrances, some arcane backgrounds, different items and such, enemies, all the whole gambit of things. But yeah, just looks interesting. Again, it was a Kickstarter, so I'm guessing they just finally got it around and out. Let's take a look at that. The next one, this isn't so much this is not a finished product, but a playtest that's available that looks interesting to me. Again, there's a lot of these things that come through drive-through RPG subscription emails. They're just things I'm pulling out because I think they look interesting to me. This one is Malmart catalog playtest, specifically for Savage Worlds. Looks like they have other options as well based on this, for Cyberpunk and more. But this is a little preview of some equipment and such that you can get inside of a inside of a Cyberpunk game. So if you're running a Cyberpunk game, you could grab this and you could use the items inside to add into your game. So take a look at that. They are saying this is going to be a living document, meaning that they are going to be adding chapters as they're finished and ready for review. So that things will keep growing. But I believe that's only for the beta version, not for the final finished product release version that they'll see eventually. So if you can get a little preview of that, take a look at that. You can see here this is associated with Interface 0. So if you played Interface 0, this is going to be specific, probably more specific for that game. Anything to add, Jam?
No.
All right. Cool.
I mean, that's a cool way to do it. I like the idea of kind of iterating it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it's what you want, so you can just throw in whatever you want and get access to the the playtest material. And then the last one, go ahead and share this tab, is called Catspaw. This is a new licensed product from Old Troll Gaming Hole, print and all that. This is an adventure with like modern day mystics, psychics, and occultists. You're doing some investigation. You're looking for a young girl, and with this you get a ready-made adventure essentially with some pre-generated characters, but you also get some new ways to do ritual magic and supernatural combat. You get some rules for places of power, which I know is something that one of my players has always loved the idea of in a more urban magic game, or even any game that has magic, is where places of power exist, where it's more powerful, and also tainted magic, and then some more arcane factions and some optional rules for backlashes, corrupted energy, and temporal disturbances. So I'm very curious about that, about some of all of the options here, and I like that's bundled in with an adventure. That means that you can actually see how it works in the adventure with those optional rules. All right. Well, with that, I think we are ready to talk about Doomguard. What is Doomguard? As we talked to JM DeFoggi, who is the writer of Doomguard. If you're just joining us, thanks for joining us. And if you have any questions about this RPG, leave a comment down below. And again, if you do have any questions about the board game, you may ask those, but we're going to be focusing mostly on the RPG, and then we'll probably leave questions for the board game until later. So with that, yeah, let's go ahead and remove this screen so we can see our faces better. How are you doing today, Jan?
You know what? It's a good day. I'm back in my home studio, which I have been displaced from for the last 7 weeks, and things are starting to return to normal. And yeah, life is good.
Why were you displaced?
I got back from 4th of July weekend to find both bathrooms sort of bubbling the wrong direction, I shall say. And so after doing a bunch of mitigation and everything from about 2.5 feet up the wall down was removed out of both of the bathrooms. We're at the 90% goal. We're just waiting for vanities to come in, and they said they should be able to wrap it up in like 8 to 10 hours after those come in, which is Thursday. Yeah. So hopefully next week we'll be back. But yeah, we were at a hotel like 45 minutes away. It was the closest place they could find for us for like 3 weeks. And so now we're wow. I mean, we're still in Dallas because Dallas is an hour.
Yeah.
But
man, we'll talk more about our experiences with that, because I've also had a very similar experience where we had to live in a hotel for a few months because we had some plumbing issues.
Yeah,
in our basement. So
it's weird,
odd. But yeah, so we're talking about let's go and skip all that and talk about Doomguard.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the RPG, and let's just start with we kind of talked about this. The Kickstarter is for a board game about the Doomguard, and then we are also seeing a 90-odd page book for an RPG that's going to go along with it. So maybe the first question actually should be, what is the Doomguard? And then how does the book connect to the board game?
So the Doomguard, they got introduced in Cosmic Crisis, Necessary Evil 3 Cosmic Crisis, and the Superpowered Companion. The Doomguard are essentially the Avengers Justice League of the Necessary Evil world, right? Necessary Evil, spoiler alert, this came out 20-some years ago. In Necessary Evil, all of the heroes are killed, and the reason it's called Necessary Evil is because supervillains kind of rise up to save the day. And the idea is, as it's kind of been iterating through Breakout and Cosmic Crisis and the Return of Dr. Destruction, is the idea that, hey, that idea worked really well. And now as we're further away from the Visori invasion, we're starting to see, new superheroes arise, but also this idea that, hey, some threats are so large that they can call on supervillains to kind of help defend the world from threats that are just too big for even a superhero team to deal with. And so the Doomguard is composed of heroic figures and villainous figures. So you could also say like there's a little bit of Suicide Squad or Thunderbolts kind of mixed in. The idea is when the world is threatened, the Doomguard get called on. And so you can play as a heroic character in the Doomguard, or you can play as a villainous character, either in search of redemption, or just, you know, basically protecting the planet until you can take over. And so there's we kind of talk about it narratively, but there are some like incentives if you're a villain to kind of be working in this. But I also built a setting rule that allows you to change your hindrances over time if you are kind of on this redemptive path of using the Doomguard to kind of walk away from your villainous background. And so that's kind of what the Doomguard is. Again, they showed up in both of those books. We're expanding them because the Doomguard plot point campaign is for power level 4 superheroes. And so Cosmic Crisis was for 5. Yeah. Doomguard in various iterations were like 2 or levels, you know, power level 2 or 3. So we're trying to like kind of bring them all up to the same power level for this.
Yeah, so it's something I probably should say, as I haven't had a chance or to either read or play a necessary evil game. But for those who are watching home, if you look at the Superpowers Companion for Savage Worlds, there's basically different power levels for different kinds of heroes. So like if you think about superheroes in comic books, like some of them are like, you know, Daredevil, who isn't really super powered, but he's fighting like thugs on the streets and stuff. And then you have, I don't know, Captain Marvel, who's fighting off alien invasions out in outer space and flying through space. Like very different power levels of people. And so when you kind of set up your setting for a Savage Worlds game and Superpowers Companion, you got to set what is the power level of the group that you're kind of going for. So, yeah. And five's the highest, isn't it?
5 is the highest, yeah. So Cosmic Crisis was designed for cosmic level heroes. Invasion was designed for power level 3, which is kind of like your standard 4-color hero, if you will. And then like power level 1 is like the Shadow or the Phantom, you know, like not even street level heroes. We're talking like pulp heroes where you're just slightly better than the average person.
Sure. Yeah. Cool. So so that puts it, and he said that Doomguard's at level 4.
Yes. So you are global heroes or villains at this point. And then the idea was to take the board game scenarios and the city that it's set in. And so like it starts off with, hey, here's the history of the Doomguard. Here's what you're going to be playing. Here's Cassandra, the AI that's kind of helping. And I give you a couple of options for, you know, it's written, Cassandra is a good AI. But maybe she's not in your version of the Doomguard. Like I gave you a couple of options, especially if you want to go Minority Report or Philip K. Dick in the setting. And then, you know, we outlined the city with the landmarks that you would find in the board game. Like the idea was originally they were planning to do a Doomguard supplement that had 3 plot point campaigns that went with the 3 different boxes to the board game.
Yeah.
And I got to write Doomguard versus Hell, which was awesome. Like Stygian invasions and, you know, demonic cultists and Nephilim like running all over the place. And then they decided to pull it back, and so we're focusing on, it's got a 10 act plot point campaign. I would say about 70% of the plot points in the campaign and about 30% of the Savage Tales cover all of the actual scenarios from the board game, but allow you to play through them as if you were the Doomguard. You're not limited by, you know, turns and rounds and, you know, the stuff that you kind of see in the board game. It's highly a narrative board game, but it's still not the same freedom as a, you know, kind of a role-playing game. And then there's, I think there's 5 to 8 Savage Tales, and then about 15 to 20 like landmark specific plot hooks that you can engage like with,
incorporate. Yeah. And so in this plot point campaign, is it still like one main, I'll say, like threat the whole time, or does it like change threats? Okay.
No, it's one main threat. The idea is, right, the Doomguard doesn't come together because terrorists are threatening the UN or somebody's robbing a bank. This is an existential threat to the world.
Right.
And kind of the main ones is outlined in the Superpower campaign. You have the Elder Gods, You have Stygia, which is kind of Asmodeus's realm.
Okay.
There were a couple other ones. There's like megafauna, like like Godzilla or something like that. Alien invasions. And so the idea with the plot point campaign is that Cassandra is gathering all of this data and constantly pouring through it. And sometimes she's not even aware of the patterns that she's seeing. Very much kind of a Cassandra-esque callback to the Trojan War, right? She's the one prophet who's like, hey, this is something we should be worried about, and nobody's really paying attention. And so it starts with you being sent to this research lab because there's a fire, there's an explosion, there are strange creatures coming out, and the main research scientist disappears. That's kind of the initial act, and I think that's what they shared in the Drive-Thru RPG share.
Yeah.
And as you start researching, hey, why did this experiment go horribly wrong? What happened to, this scientist? You start peeling back the layers of, okay, maybe this city wasn't founded on kind of the best intentions. Is there some sort of eldritch underpinning to the city? I have an homage to The Shadow over Innsmouth because, of course, it's my favorite Lovecraftian story. There's a little bit of a nod to the King in Yellow, although the King in Yellow doesn't really show up. Hasher doesn't show up in the campaign. There's some dimensional travel. Like, it just keeps growing to the point that, the pitch is superheroes versus Cthulhu, and I would be remiss as a writer if I didn't deliver on that. So, yeah. Oh.
I'm back. My camera cut out for a second.
Oh, no. I was like, am I still live?
Yeah, so you're still alive. Just
Welcome to Savage Goose. I'm not Savage Goose, and I'd be glad to continue to chat.
But yes, yeah. Okay. So yeah,
there are no
much.
plumbing. Sorry, I was gonna just say Ted asked if there's any plumbing adventures, and sort of, but not related to anything that happened to me.
There you go. So one of the questions I was going to ask is just like, it's obviously like a lot of people when they play a superheroes campaign, they play superheroes. Necessarily evil, you all play as super villains who are coming together for a common goal. In this situation where you're playing as Doomguard, where you're both either a hero or a villain, and maybe still a villain who's just in it for themselves.
Yeah.
Is there anything in the RPG, like mechanics or guidelines or anything, to ensure there's cooperation between characters who are intrinsically opposed to one another?
So yes, there's a couple of things. So first of all, I got one of the things they wanted was like new hindrances and edges. And let me tell you, those are very difficult to come up with because Savage Worlds is so comprehensive. But we do have a couple, like there's rules for mythos corruption. There's rules for if you want to just play a doomed character and be a deep one hybrid in waiting, you can play as a deep one hybrid in waiting. But the two things that kind of come to the surface, if you will, is one, it's an existential threat. So there is sort of the narrative agreement, hey, we're all kind of in this together. But if you've played the board game or looked at the board game videos, Mike has this great mechanic in there called innocent bystanders. And as you are playing heroes or villains in the Doomguard board game, you have the opportunity to save innocent bystanders. And if you save them, you are sacrificing some of your own turn to do this. And there are bonuses and consequences to of that. And so I like that mechanic so much, I incorporated it as a setting rule into the campaign. So if you are focused on innocent bystanders, which you should be as members of the Doomguard, at least in theory, you are rewarded for that. If you are playing the selfish villainous character who is like, I don't want to sacrifice any part of my turn to help random people, you are not taking multi-action penalties. You are not like worrying about anything else. But it adds some of that tension because there is a timer on innocent bystanders, and there is a way that you are both rewarded or penalized for not engaging with that.
Sure. Okay. Give me a second, sorry.
No, don't worry.
Yeah. So with that, when I was reading through the preview document, one of the things it mentioned is like during the dramatic task, you could, as a villain, especially you'd probably only do this if you're a villain, like look around to steal tech,
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing. So we talked about you have some setting rules in there. Is there anything like that's gonna? And also there is some agreement together that they're all looking for the same thing, but we also want to make sure that the villainous players can still play villains who are in it for their own selves.
Oh yeah.
Is there? I guess my thinking as a GM is like I want to make sure that my players can keep above board, can keep the there's not going to be any above board distrust, in game distrust, fighting.
Oh,
great.
100%. Yeah.
Above board, making sure that there's not going to be like, hey, we're trying to do this together, and just make sure everyone like understands that yes, you're a villain. You mentioned the hybrids, like the underground hybrids. Is the intention that like theoretically that character could come back and betray the rest of the party?
So the idea with that is you are descended from deep ones and do not know it. And so I adapted some of the rules for terminally ill. So you're playing a character who is basically doomed. As you encounter more mythos corruption, you get to make special saves, and as you fail them, you become more, let's call it squamish as it goes on. And eventually you will manifest as a hybrid, and the way the rule is written, and again, all of this is subject to change. We've got, I've submitted the draft, but I'm going to be doing rewrites, and Shane and Daryl are looking at it. They're making little tweaks and suggestions. But the way it is like when you finally fail that final corruption test, you get a point of conviction, you become a hybrid, and at the end of that, there is now a villainous NPC Deep One hybrid that will show up whenever the GM wants, which is your former character.
And then you just have to roll up a new character.
You got to roll up a new character, but it's kind of like, again, like taking the terminally ill.
Right.
Now, there are ways around it if you want to spend advancements to kind of, say I'm undergoing occult treatment with Hex or, Spellbinder to kind of, pull this back in. You can totally do that. But the idea was like so many Lovecraftian protagonists are doomed before the story even starts. And for players who love to jump into that, another one that I really, I kind of liked is the Nemesis special rule. I love encouraging my super powered players to come up with enemies. That's the Fantastic Four have Doctor Doom, and Superman has Lex Luthor, and Spider-Man has at least 6 sinister villains. And so I have a setting rule in there that says, hey, if you go through the time to make an enemy, the GM at any point can replace a wild card enemy with your nemesis, and then you get a Betty when they show up, and if you defeat them, you get a point of conviction. Because why wouldn't I, as the GM, want to have my characters' enemies or rivals showing up all the time? Like, that's one of the cool things about comic books and comic book movies, is that we get to know the villains as well as we get to know the heroes. And so I really wanted something that says, hey, here's a reward for taking this hindrance.
Okay. Could you theoretically take another player as a nemesis?
No, because they would always be in the group.
Right.
But would I allow... So I used to play a lot of World of Darkness, and one of the best rules that I never saw actually implemented at the table was in Wraith, where you have this shadow self that sometimes takes over. And one of the options they gave you was like, your shadow self is played by the person to your left. Like, I would totally be like, all right, your villain will be your enemy will be played by the person to your left if and when they show up, and then just give a character sheet and say, do your worst. And I think that would be a lot of fun.
There you go. Cool. All right. So we talked about that. You mentioned This Mythos corruption rule. Can you tell us any more about that?
So the idea is as you encounter Mythos, artifacts, sacrificial sites, different things, right? One of the things about kind of Lovecraftian fiction is man was not meant to know these things, and that ignorance is essentially our shield from it. And so the idea is, as you get exposed to these things, you have to make what are essentially fear checks. And if you fail the fear check, something bad happens. If you critically fail the fear check, you gain a hindrance. And the first time you fail that, you actually get 5 extra power points to upgrade your character. So like if you've played the supers, right, your power level tells you how many power points you have to spend on your powers. But you have to
not to be confused with PowerPoints from
not at all
the powers section.
I was trying to explain the supers rule to my son, and it took a while to get those. It's kind of like using the word level in Dungeons and Dragons. Well, what does level mean? Well, it could refer to like a floor of a dungeon, or going up in power, or types of spells, or anyway. So you get 5 extra power points, but your trappings have to include some sort of eldritch or mutated sort of thing.
Okay.
Like you're exposed.
So people can tell if things wrong.
Yes, they can tell something's wrong. And then when it happens again, I can't remember which order this happens in. I apologize. It was a large manuscript, and I'm currently doing making more Doomguard, because you actually, instead of making your own characters, the idea is you could just pick up the Doomguard character sheets and the STLs from the Kickstarter, and you'd have your mini that goes with your character sheet. And actually, I owe some of this noodling to John Doom, so big thanks to him for that. Then if you get the next version of you critically fail again, then you get another little power buff. But if you ever critically fail a roll, that power hits your ally with the least amount of toughness as your the Elder Gods kind of mess with that power as it's activating, and it ends up hurting your team. So there, and then there's some edges and some hindrances that kind of feed into, do I want a lot of Mythos corruption? Do I want a little, do I want to be resistant against the Mythos corruption?
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, that's not, it sounds, is it, I think sorry if you said this already, but is it, so it's not the same, but similar to the special fear rules or madness rules in the horror
companion. Yes.
Cool. All right, cool. So now the campaign takes place in Liberty City, which is a made up city you guys made for the board game, for Doomguard, for Necessary Evil in general.
Yes, I think it's mentioned in the SPC very briefly. Superpowered companion. It's a New England city,
which makes sense for Shadows over Innsmouth.
Yeah, exactly.
How does it serve as a backdrop to the adventures? Does most of it does most of it happen here in the city, or does it is this globe spanning?
So I would say 90% of the adventure, 70% of the adventure happens in the city. There's one adventure that happens in this small Dun Harbor location. There's a visit to a Atlantean underwater city. We go to a different planet dimension. Kind of, there's a mystery going on with what's actually it is, but primarily it takes place in the city. And then what I did was, the goal was to say, hey, take the stuff from the board game that you like and make it into an RPG companion. So the landmarks, which all have special abilities in the board game, they are your major landmarks in the city. And there are ways to defend them. There are adventure hooks that are tied into them. There are NPCs that are located with them. One of the ones that I added in that wasn't part of the board game, but I was like, this is kind of a cool idea. Like, you know, the Vasori invaded 20 years ago and we, you know, fought them back. Well, now there's like a Vasori enclave in the city. So basically there are Vasori and half Vasori who have kind of settled now, and it's been 20 years. And these are people who were refugees who are now like, well, hey, now we have our own little part of the city that's ours, and we're trying to navigate what does that mean, because there's still a lot of resentment because it really was only 20 years ago, but also like it's been 20 years. Like, what are we doing with the Vasori who have been left on the left behind on the planet?
Yeah, so that leads up to another question then. Like, where does in the Necessary Evil has 3 plot point campaigns, and this is adding another one in. Where does Well, I guess I had 2 questions. 1, how much lore do you need to know to like feel comfortable in Doomguard with the Necessary Evil? And then 2, where in the timeline does Doomguard take place?
All right, so Doomguard takes place in 2025, so 20 years after the initial invasion, right? The timeline has just continued to roll on. I don't think you need to, like, this is my gut says that you don't need to have read. I mean, you might want to read Invasion for background, but we provide if you've read the Savage Tales of the Doomguard, we reprinted the timeline of Doom from that. So it's got the full history of the Necessary Evil timeline with some spots about Legacy City added in. And then I tried to provide a pretty comprehensive, hey, this happened, the Vasori invasion happened, so now we're here, and here's what's going on. So the goal is that you could pick up Doomguard and run Doomguard campaigns, or the plot point, or even just a couple of Savage Tales with nothing but the Doomguard book and the SPC. You'll have to let me know if I succeeded at that. It's a fine line to walk, because it is Necessary Evil 4. I got to talk with Clint a little bit at Gen Con, and he's got an idea for another Necessary Evil book. So
there you go.
Hopefully that's coming.
Yeah, always having some ideas.
Yeah. So yeah.
So if it's necessary, so does it come after all 3 of the original books? Like,
yes.
1, 2, 3, Doomguard. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So it takes place
I feel like
after Cosmic Crisis.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Got it. So to lock that in. So, and actually, I think you brought something else I wanted to mention, because I think I got this confused originally. My original understanding was that in order to play this, you needed the core rulebook, the Superpowers Companion, the Necessary Evil Invasion book, and then the Doomguard book. But rereading it, it sounds like what you only need is the core book, Superpowers Companion, and the Doomguard book. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll need to go back and make a comment in my previous video, because I was reading through it. I was very confused, because I think part of it is like also you guys you are including Invasion in the as a PDF that you get, but it's not necessary to run Doomguard.
No, but it is. I mean, it is like the foundational event of the Necessary Evil timeline.
Right. Cool. Got it. Yeah. So let's see here. Make sure I didn't miss any other questions I wanted to ask. We asked about that. Good. So for people who are new or just unfamiliar with Savage Worlds, or even Necessary Evil, how accessible do you feel like Doomguard is as a starting point for getting into Savage Worlds? And because I imagine there's maybe a little bit of hope that people will buy the board game and then like get into the RPG.
So I think that's always been the goal, is that, hey, if you liked this and you liked kind of the story elements of it, come play the role-playing game, where we've added some things and expanded some things. And I had to make some connective tissue because the board game doesn't need as much of background or NPC interaction. Right. But I think, so I'm a huge fan of Savage Worlds. When it comes to Savage Worlds introductions, superheroes and Savage Rifts are about as far from the easiest entry points to Savage Worlds as possible, because you're adding right? You're adding arcane, iconic frameworks in the case of Savage Rifts, or you're adding superpowers on top of. But if you're familiar with superheroes, I think the Doomguard's a great place to enter in, because we're going to provide pre-generated characters. We're going to provide the Doomguard for you to play.
Right.
So, I think that makes it much more accessible to people who are coming over from the board game, because if you've been playing Ogre in the board game and you're like, well, let's play a role-playing game. Cool. I just want to play Ogre some more. You're going to be able to take Ogre's character sheet and sit down and say, okay, and I have a vague idea because of the power cards of what Ogre is capable of doing in a role-playing game. I may not know the mechanics yet. I think that makes it far more accessible, because really the complexity of playing a superhero in Savage Worlds comes from those PowerPoints that you have to spend that kind of work slightly different than everything else in Savage Worlds. But they did a great job of it. I run a ton of superheroes in Savage Worlds. I love running superheroes in Savage Worlds. But it adds a level of complexity that, by providing the Doomguard, kind of removes that, if that makes sense.
Right.
And again,
just by giving you pre-generated characters, helps you just get into it, right?
Yeah,
for sure. And honestly, the superpowers book honestly gives you a lot of options for other things as well. Like, I know Clint likes to use it for race creation. For like in LA, he talks about that, where he uses it for race creation. So there is a lot of things you can do with the superpowers companion. Again, this is one of the reasons I love Savage Worlds, is because it's so modular.
Yes,
and you can rip something out so easily and put something in so easily without feeling like you're going to mess anything up.
I'm using it for a fantasy game that also has very, very low superpower kind of things that kind of help represent some of the magic in the setting that I think fits better with the superpower companion versus the kind of the power, arcane backgrounds. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Let's see here. It's all the questions I have. Is there anything we did not talk about that you want to talk about?
Not really. I feel like it was pretty comprehensive. I'm excited about it. I've had a couple of beta readers look through it for me before I sent it off to Pinnacle, and I know Pinnacle's got some rewrites for me, and has got some additional. They reached out and they're like, hey, we'd like you to add some things, which is always a good feeling, right? It means I didn't screw up too badly. But yeah, I appreciate everybody who read through it for me and made some comments. My playtest is going well with it. That's the only other thing that may change is as I go through, I may be like, ooh, this is too easy, this is too hard.
Sorry. Yes. Yeah. Definitely get that understood for sure.
And that's that's really difficult for me, because the other thing that I just had a Savage Pathfinder PDF come out with the Gibbering Mouther and some things. It's really weird to jump between something like Savage Pathfinder, where AP2 is brutal against a Savage Pathfinder character, and basically worthless against a power level 4 superhero, because we're talking toughness is the 20 to 30 range with armor of 10 or 12 and AP of 8 to 14, and sometimes when you're building things, especially if you're building two, kind of working on two projects at once, I've got to make sure that when I go back to my playtest that I'm like, okay, this is actually where I wanted it to be.
Yeah, and Savage Pathfinder itself is even stronger than a regular modern, I'll say, ETU game. The power level, and that's again one of the beauties of Savage Worlds, that it can handle these different power levels really well.
Yeah.
It does make it more difficult for you to as a game designer or even as a game master to know especially if you're jumping between the two, knowing what's strong and what's weak.
Yeah.
As you change power levels of your characters and such.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
It is.
We have a couple questions. Okay.
I am known for being a murdery GM. Sorry, I just saw that pop up. It's true.
I mean, I think I messaged you about this before because I ran your adventure for the ballet.
Oh yeah, the Rites of Spring of Madness.
Yeah, Rites of Madness. Yeah, and I weakened the monsters in that adventure, and I still and I have problems with like where I can't hurt my players. Like that's a problem I consistently have, where especially my Pathfinder game, where I'm making monsters stronger, and I'm still not touching them. And then that one I had to bring down to not just TPK everyone immediately. So, but I also might have. I think there's also some other things I didn't run right about that. So that's on me. So it was still a fun adventure, and my players had a lot of fun.
I appreciate that.
I think they still failed though. I think they still failed to stop the right.
Oh no!
And I had a player who played that. I had a player who played that one, and she played in a previous game where both times at the end they were stopping the summoning of a god or whatever, and there's like 2 games in a row that she played in, and both times they failed. So she was feeling really down because she's failed. And I think like each time she's plays the character who's like really in charge of making sure it doesn't fail, and she felt really down after that. I felt really bad about that. But anyways, we do have some questions in the chat. Hamster Doom, so I believe that's John Doom, asking, I think the board game has some sort of chaos mode. Is that in the RPG?
No, but I think I just write in chaos mode. So,
So what is chaos mode in the board game?
I don't actually remember. So
okay, got it. All right. Next question is, was this city, I think that's Liberty City, built with normal construction means, or was something more awesome like rock and roll?
It was definitely built on rock and roll. So when I approached building the city, I am a huge fan of I'm a huge fan of comic books. And like you were looking at my shelf, like I now have to have 3 shelves, one for Marvel, Independent, and DC. And I loved Scott Snyder's run on Batman in the New 52, where it was implied that the reason that Gotham is so bad is that there were a bunch of deals made from the founding families when Gotham was built. And I think that picks up off something Grant Morrison did during his Batman run. And so the idea is the reason that this city is the source of essentially 3 existential threats to humanity is that the founding families who came here from places like Dunharbor and other places across the coast they were laying down, also Ghostbusters, right? Like the guy who builds the Ghostbuster building is either a genius or, an occult genius or a madman. That's kind of the feeling that I wanted in the city, is the idea that like, okay, a couple of different people who came together to build this place did so for nefarious reasons. And the reason that it exploded and is so prosperous is because, well, the first half of those deals, those came out. And now we're waiting for the toll, the price to be paid for those deals. So.
Right. There you go.
Yeah.
No, that. And in fact, that comes to it turns to this really big city is, interesting that they're not only they're founding families, but they're founding families that are able to actually get it going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hempstein says, "Oh, sorry. Go ahead."
Oh, go ahead. No.
I said in response to chaos, I think it's like where Ogre can come out of her suit for reasons.
I don't know.
Maybe it's a chaos mode for Ogre.
Yeah.
Okay. Nope. All right. Sorry. You don't know, John?
No. John Doom was there when I was running demos, and the goal was always to just show, like, here's the core gameplay. So I had to focus on just, like 1 to 2 rounds of the board game. Yeah.
There we go. All right. Well, I think that is all we got, unless you have anything else to say.
Please go
no more questions in the chat.
Mike did a great job with the board game. It's a ton of fun.
if for some reason you are not interested in the board game, but you are interested in Doomguard, you can go back just the book and get the book, and it comes with like the physical book as well as 4 PDFs: 1 core rule book, 1 superpower companion, 1 necessary evil invasion, and a copy and then PDF of Doomguard. So those 4 PDFs and the physical book. So if you are not interested in the board game for whatever reason, but you do want to get the book, you can do that. Or if you just want to get in there and then like add the board game in as an add-on later or whatever, you can still get it, do that. So yeah, take a look at that and back, and we'll see what kind of cool things we get. So I'm excited to hopefully get those STLs so that I can 3D print some stuff. I've been missing my 3D printer being here in Scotland. I'm like, I want to print some minis. So looking forward to getting back for that. All right. Well, thank you everybody for jumping on and joining us. I will not be here next week, so no stream next week because I will be traveling back to the States. Week after that, we'll have Brandon from Star Anvil Studios talking about Phase World, and I'll be back at home. So this will be actually at 9 p.m. Eastern time that week. And then the week after that, I believe, is going to be talking about the Swag Timber bundle and taking a look at what's in that. I'm always excited for Swag Timber because it's like all these things I've been seeing all year that some I've already bought, some I haven't bought, and I'm like just seeing them all come together and just grabbing them and just reading through them. There's definitely some things that I probably wouldn't have bought in the previous bundle, for example, that I like I would have bought on my own, but because it's part of the bundle, I got it and I read it. And I was like, oh, actually, this is really cool. Mm-hmm. So being able to like highlight some of those things, get some of these products, and like reading through and be like, oh, actually, like this particular piece is really cool. So that's what we're gonna be doing that week. Is I'm gonna get the bundle day one. I'm going to try to read through as much as I can before the next day. It's like Monday it comes out, Tuesday is stream time. Luckily it's Labor Day, so I'll have Labor Day to read through some stuff. And then we'll talk about it and see what kind of cool things there are. And then Jim, you're probably going to have someone on that week.
I'm going to try and have someone on at the end of the month or at the start of September to signal boost it and then talk with as many of the Swag Timber bundle authors as I can.
Yeah. I did see Xander said that they already have over $100 worth of products in the bundle. So awesome. That's really cool to see. So yeah, just take a look. I'm super excited. I'm sure John Doom's got some stuff in there too, knowing him. So yeah. So look forward to that. And I thank you all for a great night. And I hope you guys all have a great day. Cheers, everybody. Stay savage.